2 of the bill. Excuse me. Senator Palacios.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to offer an amendment to Bill number 1, parenthesis 1S, 1-S, and that is to repeal Section 45 of Chapter 6, which is Public Law 2902, and that is the reduction in the appropriation from the agencies listed in the appendix, and the reduction in total 18,110,570 is to restore this amount to these respective agencies, because these were the agencies that was cut. And so that is the amount that it will repeal and restore this amount.
Okay. Thank you, Senator Palacios. I'm just going to take a 1-minute recess, okay?
Yes, sir.
Palacios.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for that guidance. To replace Section 3,
With a new
repeal
section.
Section 3 and replace it with this new section.
Okay. Replace Section 3 with a new section. Okay.
Wait.
So Senator Palacios is making an amendment to replace Section 3 with a new section, and then it reads, of course, Senator Palacios.
Which is to restore not just to the 11, which was the original submission to us on Bill 1, parenthesis 1-S, but to actually restore all the cuts to all the agencies listed in the appendix attached to what is now Public Law 29-02 for the amount of 18,110,570. And this is the second cut. Of course, this is the deep cut from which only the 6 agencies were exempted. And I think it's only fair that we restore. The governor still has the transfer authority over some of these agencies. He can make the adjustment at that point.
Okay. Thank you very much, Senator. On the Palacios amendment, if there's no comment or no objection, Senior Senator?
So in essence, whatever we have right now on Section 3 that we adopted yesterday.
No, that was Section 2 yesterday. We're in Section 3.
Now, hold on for a second.
Yeah, we've dispensed with Section 2. This is Section 3.
Well, okay, Section 3 is the supplement to appropriation.
Yes,
right?
so this is replacing with the new Section 3.
Okay.
Okay, if there's no comment, no objection, okay, amendment carries. Speaker Mark Forbes. Speaker Mark Forbes. There's a typographical error, Senior Senator. They've misnumbered. Oh, Speaker Forbes? Yes. It's been passed out.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And let me say from the bottom of my heart, how much I appreciate how well you're chairing this, and I'm proud to serve in your committee. Thank you so much. This is to add a new section, the purpose of which is to appropriate a sufficiency of funds to replace, not repair, but replace the air conditioning units at Southern High School and at Tamuning Elementary School, which will, and in addition to that, to have a 5-year warranty and maintenance, preventive maintenance contract so that they will be maintained during that period of time. It also provides additional funding to the Guam Public School System so that they can acquire a couple more air conditioning folks to work on the many other small units that exist throughout the system. This amendment would be in concert with something that Senator Pangilinan did in 2902, where he appropriated basically $450,000 to address air conditioning issues. So that $450,000 would also be available to take care of some of the smaller air conditioning issues that plague other schools. But as we all know, the two big ones are Southern and Tamuning, and it is going to require a substantial input of money to make sure that those air conditioners are repaired. But I think that all of us agree, Mr. Chairman, that this is something that has to happen. We can't have the children who go to Southern High School and the children who go to Tamuning Elementary continue to suffer under the conditions that they currently are. And rather than do a bunch of patchwork repairs that break down just as soon as they're done, time has come to just replace the systems and try and get it right from the very beginning, rather than constantly patching something that doesn't work. I know that I've spoken to many of my colleagues who are in support of this amendment, and I invite them to request co-sponsorship, and if they do, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to add them all as co-sponsors to this amendment so that the legislature can act on a united way to do this. Mm-hmm. One final point I want to make is that although this is a general fund appropriation, we do say that we want the cash to come from that $20 million in tax money that the IRS gave the government of Guam. And the reason for that, Mr. Chairman, is there's $21 million in cash that's sitting in a bank right now, apparently. And that's cold, hard cash in a bank, which means that if the governor takes this money that is being appropriated here from that source, it means that the repairs, the replacement of these air conditioners can happen quickly. If the governor uses some other source of funding that is still dribbling in month by month by month, Lord knows when GPSS is actually going to see the cash. I'm very hopeful that the governor will agree that this is such a priority and so important for the families in the South, the families in the Tamuning area, which is the hometown of the governor, and for that matter, families throughout the island who need to have air conditioners worked on in classrooms where their children are trying to learn, that he will take the money that is in the bank right now and give it so that this work can be done. So we do make reference to that particular source, but I want to be real clear here. This is a general fund appropriation. I really don't want anybody to come back to us in a week or two and say, oh, you didn't appropriate from the general fund. So, no. We're appropriating from the general fund. And we're directing that the source of cash be that $21 million in the bank. But this is a general fund appropriation, and it is the intent of the legislature clearly that this money be appropriated and that the cash be taken from a ready source of immediate cash so that this repair can happen right. I'm going to say it again, I'm sorry. This replacement of the air conditioning system can happen right away. So I urge all my colleagues to support this. And in fact, I'd like to make a motion that all the colleagues be listed as co-sponsors to this.
Okay, so
in alphabetical order, if that's okay.
On the Forbes 1 PAT, well, it's actually the Forbes 1 PAT amendment. So you would like an alphabetical order
after that.
After that, if there was no objection. Okay, on the on the amendment, have you finished? Okay, Senior Senator Ampinko.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, this amendment, yes, it is a good one because it is addressing the needs of the Southern High School air conditioning and the Tamuning Elementary air conditioning. But you know what sort of bothers me though is that here we are putting positions on the same section of the bill, also to give them a promotion. And also, all we need is to probably put in a company that would provide this, because we have a description of exactly what we need. Rather than normally, if you want to put out something, you put it out on bid or RFP. This is to supply and install 3 each. Is it just chillers that we need, or do we need air condition that would be actually practical for the place? Are we going to detail more or less what is needed down there? The problem that we have in Southern High School right now is the chilling system. So from the beginning. And now you're going to buy a new one that will replace an old one that's already proven to be not really workable. And my concern is that, you know, they need to actually know what they want down there, and not to place in law, you know, the detail and the description of the type of air conditioning system that they will need. Because I know for a fact that that's the problem is the chilling system for the longest time. And you're going to replace it again. And then, perhaps, you know, to me, I don't know whether they have any refrigeration mechanics. But, you know, here we're enumerating really all the 4 positions. And we're promoting them to pay grade H, step 1. You know, I am in agreement with the amendment, but I personally feel, Mr. Chair, that I think that it needs to be more general in terms of, you know, the type of air conditioning unit, and also I do not know whether this is the right place for us to promote positions, you know, to take care of it.
Okay, would you care to yield? Well, there's Senator Shimizu. Senator Shimizu has a... Do you care to have the author of the bill or the amendment to yield to a question? Okay. So, okay, then Senator Shimizu. You can close. Senator Shimizu?
Speaker, can I yield? Because basically I have the same inquiry.
Would you care? Do you have the same question? Would you like to have the author of the amendment yield to your question?
Yeah, and then I'll still be able to. Thank you,
Speaker Forbes. Could you please yield to the question?
First off, I don't know if this. I assume he's asking the same question that Senator Pinko did, but he wants me to yield to respond. The first thing is that these specs do not come from the legislature. These specs come from a certain individual that the good senator is very familiar with. He's kind of a short guy, but he's very smart and good looking. And he provided me this information from the planning division at GPSS based upon their assessment of what they want to do. So this isn't the legislature forcing anything down their throat with respect to how they want to repair it. This is enabling them to do what they say they want to do. Second thing is that I understand the issue of the Southern High School chilling system, but at least the assessment that I'm getting from GPSS is the reason why it went south is 1 year after the chiller systems were installed, the preventative maintenance contract was yanked, and individuals from the internal maintenance of Guam Public School System, 2 of which had been provided training by Carrier to maintain the system, were moved out of Southern High. Now, I am not an HVAC expert. I am not an engineer, but it seems logical to me that if you have a sophisticated system and you take away all the preventative maintenance, then it's bound to break down. Now, if the legislature wants to give GPSS the flexibility to do what it already says it wants to do, because this is from GPSS, I certainly didn't make it up. That's fine with me if you want to say they also have an alternative. But, and I think they're pretty sure about the direction they want to go to replace this. And they have received, obviously every vendor is going to give you a different story because every vendor is going to pitch their product. But they have received a lot of information on this, and through whatever mechanism they come up with, this is what they say they want to do. Now, you want to second guess them? Fine, make an amendment that says this or an alternative that GPSS may pursue. With respect to the employees are not intended to maintain the air conditioning system at Southern or at Tamuning. I think we recognize that those systems are sophisticated enough to where it's probably best, as the previous speaker suggests, that we have a firm do preventative maintenance. That's included in the prices that are listed in this particular transmittal from GPSS. The additional employees are intended to give GPSS the ability to maintain all the other small air conditioning units throughout the system. The system is rife with split units, small units, all kinds of things that don't get repaired on a regular basis. And in order to repair it, unless we're going to try and do a maintenance contract for every single split unit, window unit, God knows what else, small unit in 30 some odd schools, then they've got to have the ability to go out and maintain these things. And when I say maintenance, I'm not talking about rocket science. One of the problems that GPSS has is that even the split units aren't maintained. The filters don't get cleaned. The drainage hoses don't get cleared. You do that, and you're bound to have these things die. So I don't have a problem giving GPSS the ability to get some more maintenance people in there so these things get clean, so we're not constantly buying brand new air conditioners. We have stories in several schools. It used to be the case in Inarajan. Senator Schumann will be familiar with this, and I understand it's the case in Ordat Salampago as well, where air conditioning units, split air conditioning units, have been installed in several classrooms, but there's no power source. Well, you get 3 or 4 guys in there, and you got people who can do the power source. And where's the funding source for it? The $450,000 we already appropriate in 2902 to take care of air conditioning problems in the schools. So, if folks want to make amendments to this, that's fine with me. But I do think that what we're doing here is what GPSS is asking for and what they think is going to solve their problem. And I'm not enough of an air conditioning expert to second guess them. But if anybody else feels that they want to do something better, that's fine with me too. But this is what the planning division at GPSS is asking for, word for word. This attachment came from the planning division. I didn't make it up. I called them and asked them for the information. This is what they gave me. So unless someone has a better idea, I kind of want to go with what they're saying, because I don't know that I have a better sense of how much it costs, how much it's going to cost to replace this. The only thing I know, man, is that, I pick up the paper every day, and I see 2 boxes in the paper. One box is how many days since the air conditioning system at Southern High has been working. Another box is how long it's been since the air conditioning system at Tamuning Elementary is working. And I don't think we want to let this opportunity go by without giving the resources to GPSS to finally fix them and get it off the paper. Just get it off the paper. Not because it's embarrassing to have it on the paper, but because it represents, to me, one of the fundamental failures of this government to just provide basic things to our people. If we can't provide air conditioning to kids, as is mandated by law in our own public schools, and those of you who've been down to Southern High know that, boy, I tell you, a lot of those rooms, it's not like you can open up the ventana and let in the breeze. There's no such thing in some of those rooms. If they're not air conditioned, they're useless. So, let's get it fixed. We've been talking about doing it for years. Not for Southern High and Tamuning. There's going to be a contract for that.
Guys, as chair, I just must remind everyone that you should be addressing the chair. I know everyone's having nice little conversations, but please, if we can, I'm feeling very lonely out here.
But you keep talking to other people nice. So at any rate, that's the point I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make is that this is what they want. They've priced it. This is what they say they can do. Someone has a different price. If someone has a different plan, glad to hear it. But right now, I want us to get out of this, I hope, by giving GPSS what they say they need to get these air conditioners fixed. That's what I'd like to see. And if someone feels that they don't want to give them any extra staff to fix the small air conditioners in every other school in Guam, like Orat Chalampago, and get their power installed, so those, how many air conditioners are installed there that don't work? 3. Over in Iran, I think it was like 15 or something. 15 air conditioners sitting in the wall for over a year, and you can't turn it on because there's no power source. Well, we got the money to fix that. We got some personnel here who can fix it. Let's do it. By the way, the promotions are so that the 2 guys that have air conditioning, experience at GPSS in their maintenance right now, can supervise the guys that are going to be new. That's the theory. Because right now they got 2 techs. That's all they got. How are they going to run, I think we just want to help them as best we can, don't we?
Does that answer your question, Senator Shimizu?
Actually, I didn't pose the question. I just wanted to give the speaker the opportunity to speak. I did that because ostensibly, and I wanted to do that. So what I said, basically the same issue, but I didn't pose the question. I just wanted to just get a feel and an understanding as to authorization to promote somebody. I thought that's already within the merit system. But what I'm saying is, you have to fund it, but we don't need to authorize the promotion. We just give them additional money for personnel to cover that. But I think what the speaker is trying to do is to really pigeonhole them, not to use it for something else, and so because even the way the runoff statement in his amendment, one I fully support, and I pen my name onto this amendment. Because I have gone out with the speaker and Senator Wampat on all of the different site visits that we have, and I'm really quite appalled by the learning environment. So there's no question in my mind in terms of the need to be able to contract and provide funding. But when I read the way it's written, is that it's a runoff sentence, as well as the promotion, because I just only raised the issue that we're legislating promotion, and are we now undermining the how people get promoted? Just go down to the legislature and they'll promote you by statute, versus that of having to go through the due process of being evaluated in terms of the merits of you getting the promotion. So that was ostensibly my question, but the speaker's answer just before he went back to his office was that he wants to make sure that that money is for promotion of the 2 supervisors. But that doesn't necessarily, I hope he's not implying that we will legislate promotion absent the merit, because I think that will be very demoralizing to other employees. You just go down and see your favorite senator, and when they're in special session, and they'll just promote you by statute versus that of. So I think if his intent is to provide the money, I think that the authorization aspects to promote might be reword it, but I'm not quite sure if you want to take a recess. All I'm saying is that the hereby appropriate $132,936 for 4 FTEs for refrigeration mechanic at step one, and also for refrigeration mechanic supervisor pay grade, and leave it at that rather than authorizing the promotion. And in the language that we have here.
Wait, oh, so would you care? You'd like to make an amendment to the amendment? I can.
Yeah, what I wanted to do.
Tell you what I can do. I can take a couple of minutes recess for you to work on an amendment to the amendment.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
So
let's
that
take a
I can just make
couple
it
minute
clear
recess.
that's funding. Thank you.
You have an amendment to the Forbes One Pat and all others amendment. Senator Shimizu.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, is being passed out.
It's-
I think I had described it that all I did was split it and authorize it. Didn't try to compromise the civil service. So I move that we adopt the amendment to the Forbes.
No
amendment.
objection.
Okay, there's no. Oh. Oh, it has not been.
Mr. Chairman,
Why don't
1
you go
minute
ahead and
recess.
explain? Why don't you go and explain your
Now,
amendment?
it's coming.
Okay.
No, but no. Senator Speaker Umpinku wants a copy of it, and I think we should abide by our rules. I agree.
Okay, does everyone have a copy of the amendment? Okay, if there's no comment, no objection to
No
the
objection.
amendment. No objection to the amendment. So the amendment is amended. No objection. Amendment carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Next one, Senator. I thought I did. On the motion as amended.
No objection.
Now we are up on Senator Tenorio. Senator Tenorio. Senator Tenorio?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I have an amendment to add an appropriation for past due obligations to the Guam Power Authority. It's being passed out to the members as I speak, and my co-sponsor in this is Senator Jesse Lohan. And this stems from a revelation that we've received in recent days that the ratepayers of Guam Power Authority, which is the vast majority of our population, business and residential, are going to be asked to pay in the near future an increase to their power bill because the government of Guam hasn't paid for past due obligations. And the streetlight fund, for which many of these obligations are due, has been unpaid for quite some time. And the CCU is found, or I think the CUC is making a determination in the not-too-distant future to increase the rates on taxpayers. And we cannot satisfy the full debt for the past due obligations of the government of Guam, but we can exercise some financial and fiscal responsibility to that end by trying to defray some of that cost. And so this appropriation would be $3.5 million appropriated from the general fund to the Department of Administration for the payment of past due obligations of the government of Guam to the Guam Power Authority, including unpaid street bills. And this
Mr. Chair.
appropriation is exempt from any transfer authority.
We don't have a copy of that.
There. Okay. If we could have, please, the copies of the amendment. passed out to the members of the body.
Mr. Chairman, it's my contention, I think that the belief of many of the people and the ratepayers, it would be unfair, and it is unfair, for the ratepayers to absorb the cost of the government of Guam's inability or failure to pay for past power bills, which the Department of Administration is responsible for paying when we, as a vendor, as a customer, the government of Guam has failed to pay those debts. This will have an impact on that proposal to defray the cost, which is basically for fuel and other obligations in order to take care of these streetlights, which every sector in our community enjoys. And I think it would be a detriment to many of the people of the island if we were to see those, first of all, the ratepayers pay an additional cost for the failure for the government of Guam. And then further, it would be a further detriment to the island if we see that our residents go without streetlights, which is a very real threat. The safety and security of our children in the early morning hours when they walk to the bus, even at night when they're walking through our communities, makes it better to have those streetlights in place. So I'm asking my colleagues to please support this, because I think in doing this, we're going at least one step toward trying to resolve some of the financial responsibilities that we have that are clear debts to, in this case, the Guam Power Authority. Thank you.
Okay, on the Tenorio Lujan amendment, Senator Lujan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I, as the co-sponsor of this amendment, Mr. Chairman, you know, the similar bill that we introduced a couple of weeks ago, actually was introduced about a month and a half, not 2 months ago, and publicly heard about a couple of weeks ago. As we've heard in testimony, that the Streetlight Fund, Streetlight is the only remaining outstanding public account that GPA has on its books. And by not continuously not appropriating this to GPA, it's forced them to use money instead that would be used for maintenance and capital improvement projects they have. Now, the end result with this, actually, as the chairman of the CCU had said, that in return, you'll have a dollar-for-dollar reduction in the power base rate that's proposed increase to the people of Guam. So, you know, this will go a ways in helping to reduce the burden of raising the power rates today or whenever this bill is passed. So, again, over the years, Mr. Chairman, the government's deficit has grown to $15 million in regards to the shortfall for that. This year's shortfall alone is $1.7 million. And we're tracking right now at 1.2. So this will not take care of the whole thing and settle this outstanding account, but will go a long ways again. And as the chairman of CCU had said to us in the public hearing regarding Bill 126, that the additional appropriation to go to that fund, again, in return, will be a dollar-for-dollar reduction in the power rate, base rate, as you know, in the imposed or proposed increase. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I want to encourage the body and our colleagues here to support this amendment. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Senator Lujan. On the Tenorio Lujan amendment, Senator Pangilinan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I don't have any objection to the amendment. I just think that if the amendment is passed as written, there's no assurance that first of all, that the payment would go toward the streetlight bills, because it says the past due obligations of the government of Guam to the Guam Power Authority, and I don't know what past due obligations there are, but there could be other ones out there. I just don't know, which then they could pay those obligations, and it doesn't go to the streetlight, and we don't get the rate reduction that we want it to. So I think the safer way is that we know we have past due obligations in streetlights, and just appropriate the money just to the streetlights, to the past due obligations of the streetlight, and take out any reference to obligations to the government of Guam. Just say the streetlight or the obligations of the government of Guam for streetlight power services or whatever, and then leave it at that, rather than opening it up to be able to be used for some other past due obligation that may not affect the base rate as we're being told. So I think that needs to be done in order to accomplish
Okay.
What's being proposed.
So
Thank you.
you're offering an amendment then, and I guess it can be done verbally then, right?
Yeah,
the
I think so.
language. You're saying past due obligations of the Guam Power Authority
Past due
for
obli-
unpaid streetlight bills. Is that?
Yeah.
So if there's, I think that's, if there's no objection to the amendment, okay. Okay, so obligation of the government of Guam Power Authority for unpaid streetlight bills. Would that be it? Okay, if there's no objection to the amendment, okay. Amendment to the amendment carries on the main amendment as amended. Senator Gutherts.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, Mr. Chairman, as a former and one of the original members of the CCU when it was created, the issue of streetlight payments went as far back as then and before. And I think we have a problem that goes beyond just what we're trying to do here today, and I support this amendment. But we have to make a decision here as a body on how we're going to address the long-term issues with reference to payment for streetlights. As you know, monies are collected from vehicle registrations and other sources that are supposed to go to pay for streetlights. But these funds, we have discovered, have been diverted to other payments by administrative offices, which has made it very difficult for Public Works and GPA to receive the monies needed. GPA has never paid what it should be paid for the streetlights, and it will not be paid what it should be paid for streetlights as long as this legislature doesn't develop a better mechanism to ensure that the funds that are supposed to pay for this service are protected funds. So I hope in the future, Mr. Chairman, that we will be able to address this problem, particularly in the 08 budget. Mr. Chairman, I think Senator Lujan wants to provide some information. I would accept the information. Mr. Chairman, Senator Lujan would like to make a clarification.
I'm
to help
sorry.
me.
Please continue, Senator Gutherts. I was
Yes,
distracted.
Senator Lujan would like to help clarify a question I have on the long-term solution to the street
Okay,
light problem.
Senator, do you care to yield to the question of the? Okay, please, Senator Lujan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, to the question of the of Senator Gutherts, actually in Bill 126 that we publicly heard a couple of weeks back, basically those questions arose in regards to that in the long term, and we're working closely right now to better that bill, to address those long-term problems, and to address how actually they can get the money directly to them. And again, as what we did today in the amendment, we want to make sure they get the money, and that's what we want to do in the future. So again, bill was publicly heard. We'll report it out as soon as we work again closely with the CCU and you know the committee, and to better that bill to address exactly your concerns.
I'm very
Thank you
pleased to
very
hear
much. Thank
that. In addition, Mr. Chairman, I would like to recommend that, I know we can't do it at this point, but very, very soon we have to address the issue of the fire hydrants and how those are going to be paid for. That's another issue that has not been properly addressed, and in which the monies are not being paid to the Guam Waterworks Authority to cover the costs of the fire hydrants. Now, before I close on this matter, I'd just like to say all of us on Guam have been receiving our new power bills over the last couple of months, which show a dramatic increase in costs. And we're going to receive even higher power bills when and if the PUC approves the rate increase that has been requested by Guam Waterworks Authority. I think, Mr. Chairman, GPA recently announced that it has seen a dramatic decrease in power usage as a result of the increase in costs for power. And I think that's a manifestation of the fact that our people have quickly reached the level where they can no longer accept financially higher costs for power. And I'm very concerned about many of our people experiencing a deterioration.
Point of order.
Wait,
Just
Mr.
to speak,
Chairman,
Mr. Chairman.
I'm leading to a point on this matter. I'm concerned about the community experiencing a deterioration in their quality of life because of
There's been a point of order raised. Senior Senator Impinko, point of order.
Well, you know what? My point of order, the issue at hand right now is the question of street light. And we're not talking about the entire,
Okay, so
being public as far
well,
as the power is concerned.
okay.
However, the monies for this
Senator
that
Guthrie's-
the monies that we're appropriating are supposed to be used to help relieve the costs of power to the people. Is that correct?
Are you requesting from the author of the amendment to yield to the question?
Well, I'm just trying to clarify. The purpose of this amendment is to help
Will the author
provide
of the
some
amendment
relief
yield to
to
the
our
question?
ratepayers.
Yes, he will. Senator
Is that the
Guthers, please.
purpose?
That this is my effort, I think, and I think a part of the government of Guam to exercise some fiduciary responsibility to at least in one way step toward taking care of an obligation that we have. And if that means that we are going to have a reduction or we're not going to have as much of an increase to our ratepayers and we're going to keep our streetlights in our community on, then that is the goal of this, because this is a debt we have to take care of along with many other debts that we're all aware of.
Thank you, Senator. I am supporting this amendment because of that. We have to find a way to provide relief to the ratepayers of the Guam Power Authority because they can no longer absorb additional increases. For that reason, I support this amendment. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Senator Guthrie. Again, on the amendment as amended, Senator Respicio.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I certainly not opposed to this amendment if it would hopefully lead to lowering power rates, and I appreciate the comments of the previous speaker. But could we just get a running tally, because I know we're doing that, but my concern is if we're adopting this in a first come first served basis, there might not be any left for other appropriations that we've also put in the bin.
Actually, what I'd like to do, and that is exactly what I was talking about with some of my staff here. Once discussions were through of this amendment, I was going to I was going to do recess to do a quick.
Can we recess
count.
before we vote?
Would you like to? Okay,
Yes,
so
Mr. Chairman, that's
I'm going to
fine.
allow that. Let's take a quick recess to get a balance of the numbers. We are still on the Tenorio-Lujan amendment.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Could we just get an official update from you
Okay.
as chairman of OFB?
Sure. If we currently are now with what has been ratified, we have a balance of 5,321,695. If this is ratified, we will have a balance of 1,821,695. I can note that there are amendments by Espaldon, Shimizu, Tenorio that will basically zero out the balance.
Is there any of those amendments where the sponsors intending to reduce those amounts? The amendments that we have yet to address?
Yes, the amendment by Senator Tenorio for motorcycles has been reduced to balance the appropriation
550 to what, Mr. Chairman?
to 144,003
44,000.
and 35 cents. He took the 35 cents, and that zeroes the balance. I am just saying that's what we currently have right now. That's what we currently have right now. So why don't with that? But okay, with that, I'm saying now the question was asked. We're still on the amendment. Everything can float from there. So
But the
we are now on the Tenorio amendment, the Tenorio Lujan amendment, and Senator Respicio, you still have.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate you giving us an update, and that's my concern. If we address this big-ticketed item, that might tie up all the other appropriation requests that you have. I wonder if the sponsor would be willing to have this addressed as the last item, because I don't want to lock ourselves up into a $3.5 million appropriation when there's other smaller appropriations that are also critical.
Yeah.
So it's my request if we put this amount at the end.
Is that
Because essentially, because you're tying up our smaller appropriations.
what? I think we are now. We have to deal with this amendment, Senator Respicio.
Can we recess?
Let's
Thank you,
recess
Mr.
for
Chairman.
1 minute.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I think the discussion we had was very productive because it may have yielded in a unbalanced budget if we had adopted all the amendments that are been submitted to you for your consideration. And I was afraid that this $3.5 million appropriation will not leave room for other appropriations that are significantly important for revenue tax, GPD, and there's an amendment that's going to be offered for the teachers of the Guam public school system. So with all due respect, and I'm not entirely sure that this appropriation will result in a lower power rates to the consumers, but we should try anyway. So having said that, I move to amend the amendment from 3.5 million down to not 500,000, 2730. Yeah.
2,730,000.
Yeah.
730,000.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
correct.
and if there's no objection to the amendment? Okay, no objection. On the amendment as amended, no objection? Okay, amendment carries. Next, we have Senator Tenori. We still have you. This is for the fire department.
Mr. Chairman, I'm asking my colleagues to support a long overdue, relatively low appropriation here for the fire department promotions, which is, as I think the entire body is aware, is all long overdue and was forestalled because of lack of funds. There's $102,692 sought here for appropriation of the Guam Fire Department from the general fund to give the uniformed personnel their promotions starting pay period July 21st through to September 28, 2007. And I ask my colleagues to please support me in this very, very long overdue and very worthy objective to try to motivate our men and women in the Guam Fire Department and to receive finally the promotion that they do have coming. And the process has already been completed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Senator Tenorio. On the Tenorio amendment, Senator Blas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I'd like to know if the author of the amendment can yield to a question.
Would you yield? Please, Senator, continue.
Thank you. With regards to the promotion, and I noticed that you want to make this effective July 21st, question that I have is, have these promotions been effectuated or?
No, they haven't been effectuated for lack of funds. They were actually slated to be implemented in the peak of the time that we were coming into the legislature. If you recall, Mr. Chairman, they were slotted to go forward, and then the administration said, hold off on those until we have funds available, because we don't have them at that time. And of course, we've gone through the academic exercise of talking about over history how those the revenues have changed. But now, with $102,000, we can finally make these promotions possible.
Senator Blas.
I appreciate, sir, and one of the concerns that I've got is with regards to the actual promotions itself. I don't want to provide to any of the firefighters, for lack of a better term, false hope with regards to now the money's being appropriated. Obviously, this is at the it then becomes a function of the executive branch to make sure that the promotions do happen if they're going to happen. And I would feel more comfortable if I had received information from the administration that they will in fact do these promotions when we do in fact give them money on this thing. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Senator Blas. So again, on the Tenorio amendment, Senator Pangilinan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I don't have any objection to the amendment. I'm just trying to decide what it means, especially the last section here, funding promotions for uniform personnel for pay periods ending July 21st, 2007 to September 28, 2007. I just don't know what that means. Is it those two pay periods or all the pay periods in between? It should be starting something and ending something, or we should maybe just calendar what those pay periods are and what day they fall on. But it just seems unclear to me, and I don't want to have the law be stated that we can't be doing it. Thank you.
Okay. We're going to take a couple of minute recess.
Thank you. I appreciate the contributions of my colleagues and would offer this amendment to resolve any questions in case there are any. On the second to the last line, strike the word pay all the way to the end and replace that language with remainder of the fiscal year. So it would be for the purposes of funding promotions for uniform personnel for the remainder of the fiscal year.
Okay, on the amendment as amended, no objection. Okay. The amendment carries. On the amendment as amended, no other comments. Okay, amendment carries. Okay. Yeah, we might as well. We just finish it because we're all balanced out.
Mr. Chairman, this is the last amendment. I already have the mic. So
do we have that?
It's been passed around.
No, it says 550.
It's the Guam Police Department for motorcycles.
I only see 550,000.
Yeah, I know, but I need to make that amendment on the floor.
Okay.
All right.
Senator Tenorio.
Mr. Chairman, the Guam Police Department, and I want to thank my colleagues, Senator Palacios and Senator Ishizaki, as well as all of my colleagues who I asked to support this. The Guam Police Department is in dire need of motorcycles, and in the spirit of cooperation, along with my colleagues, I have agreed to reduce the appropriation amount here in order to accommodate other needs, which I agree are clearly a priority. So I ask that my colleagues support an amendment to this to allow the Guam Police Department to replace their antiquated motorcycles, many of which no longer can be provided with parts, to change the amount from $550,000 to $144,003, and so to strike out 550,000 and replace it with 144,003.
Okay, so the author of the amendment is offering an amendment to that amendment to change to 144,003.
Correct.
If there's no objection, okay. Okay, on the main amendment, no objection. Okay, amendment carries. Okay, Senator Espaldon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I'm along with the co-sponsor, Dr. David L.G. Shimizu, we're introducing this appropriation basically to the Department of Revenue and Taxation for $1,261,000. And the purpose of this appropriation is to upgrade their computer system and to integrate their software so that they can be more efficient and more effective. Now, I'm hoping my colleagues will support this. I know that over the past several months, several senators, including myself, have individually gone up to the Department of Revenue and Taxation to find out what is the condition up there. And one of the things that we all have noticed is that, first of all, the computer system is pretty antiquated. When the Department of Revenue and Taxation moved from their old facilities into their new facilities on Route 16, instead of having new equipment, they have a whole new facility. They brought in old computer systems. As a result, several have broken down. Several are just not able to keep up with the workload. And so they have not been able to fully capture and really become as efficient as they possibly can. So what I would like to do, the other thing that I'd like to note and make a point of is that Department of Revenue Taxation is a central point in which government revenues are collected. So it's essential that we bring them up to speed, give them the technological capabilities so that they become more efficient and more effective, and so we can see greater collection in terms of our revenue, and especially in light of the military buildup and the corresponding economic ramifications from this buildup. It's important that we capture all the revenues that are generated and give the revenue and taxation the ability to go out and collect what is due the government of Guam. I ask that my colleagues do support Senator Shimizu and myself in this amendment.
Yeah, thank you very much, Senator. I do know that the amendment by the Espladon Shimizu amendment has a number of 1,275,000. I think someone has to make a motion to amend that number. Oh, did you? A motion. Okay, so a motion to amend the number from 275 to 261,000.
Right. Yes, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. I did put in $1,275,000, and really it should read $1,261,000. That was a typographical mistake.
Okay. So 1,261,000.
Right.
On the amendment to the amendment, no objection. Okay. Okay. On the amendment as amended, Senator Shimizu.
No, Mr. Chairman, I stand in support of this. It's not only at the point of collection that's important. With the automation of revenue and taxation, one of the key process that's so important is the preparation of the tax returns and being able to identify those that needs to be audited, and then in addition to that, those that needs to be referred to the Intelligence Division for potential tax evasions or tax frauds. And the automated system that is in place will be able to take it out of the individual, and there are programs that will flag very objectively where these returns are going to go. Equally important that before even you get to the stage of collection is to be able to assess the tax, to provide the assessment of the tax, because if we don't assess those taxes timely, the statute of limitation will come and go, and we will lose those revenues. So with automation, we would be able to redirect objectively where those tax returns are to go, and also to quickly make those assessments so that we don't lose the taxes. So I ask our colleagues to let's support revenue and taxation. Let's give revenue and taxation the teeth that it needs, because really it's the only line agency that is able to bring in the revenues that we so desperately need. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you very much, Senator Shimizu. On the Espladon Shimizu amendment as amended, if there's no other comment, no objection, okay, the amendment as amended carries. Senator Ishizaki, you have an amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I really wanted to amend Senator Espadon's amendment on funding the revenue tax computer system. And the point of problem that currently exists is the computer system, as antiquated as it is, it doesn't have the appropriate protections, and law enforcement are not able currently to have access on a continuing basis of motor vehicle registration information and driver information. And I wanted to offer a $1 appropriation to require that the Director of Department of Motor Vehicle and Taxation provide 24/7 access electronically of motor vehicle information to law enforcement agencies for law enforcement purposes. So I would appreciate consideration.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Senator Ishizaki. As much as I would like to entertain this, and again, it's a very worthwhile, noteworthy amendment, I'm also governed by the rules of the legislature in regards to the special session. And it is my determination that, again, substantively, it's more of a policy issue rather than an appropriation. fact, even if it was passed, we'd be overdraft by
$1.
65 cents. But I'm going to have to read out of order. Okay. Senator Lujan. Senator Lujan, you have an amendment?
They're passing out right now.
Senator Lujan, you have an amendment?
Yes, it's being passed out.
Oh. Okay.
50 cents for that.
50. Are you going to appropriate?
50 cents. Thank
Mr. You're passing it out, huh?
Mr. Chair.
Senator, please continue. The
Thank you,
amendment.
Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, actually, based on your previous amendment that you ruled out of order, you probably ruled this out of order as well. But I need to defend the germaneness and the orderliness in which I prop up this amendment. I'm sorry. This amendment calls basically to repeal Chapter 4 of Public Law 2902, and basically what it is, Mr. Chair, it is germane, as you know, that Bill 74 is an appropriations bill that revisited the 07 budget. Those were based on fee increases, Mr. Chairman. I wholeheartedly disagreed with. We know that the administration never came up with physical notes or justifications for those fees. As we sat in here yesterday, they gave us some updated numbers in which we saw that license fees and permits that they projected at $4.1 million really brought in $3.5 million. So the laws of the supply and demand, that the more expensive you have it for the people of Guam, for services and goods, people will no longer use your services or buy your goods, as demonstrated here again in their projection of $4.1 million, and what they actually got was $3.4 million, a shortfall of just under $700,000, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, the other thing is, as we sat here, as this body, the 29th legislature, sat here and listened to the administration's presentation, they were less than candid. They lied to us basically in the projections. Simultaneously, as we sat here and as this body decided to increase the people's fees to do business and to exist, they were negotiating for this $21 million. We were sitting here for 3 days, Mr. Chairman. We asked for the MOU. What does that MOU contain? We are again sitting here based on them telling us. I don't know about you, Mr. Chairman, but I don't believe this administration. I cannot take their word. This is round 3 on 07 budget, Mr. Chairman. 3 times we've been in here because of different projections. 3 times we've been in here. Now we're going to take their word that this MOU says $21 million. We have not seen that. I haven't seen the MOU. We've asked it in day 1, Mr. Chairman. I'm not asking for an appropriation for this agency. That is, I'm asking for the people of Guam to be relieved of these increases. They're called revenue enhancement. You're taxing the people of Guam to death. Taxing them, Mr. Chairman. And again, I'm probably going to be ruled out of order and non-germane in this thing, but I'm just telling you, the germaneness is that Bill 74 that became Public Law 2902 had everything to do with appropriations and monies and how we're going to tax and increase the lives of the people of Guam. With that, Mr. Chairman, again, I appeal to your good conscience to rule in the favor, and if I need be, I'll amend it to make it 50 cents hereby appropriated to the people of Guam. For that, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Senator Lujan. And again, I thank you for your eloquent dissertation on your amendment. And then I look at my senior senator in the back, the man who knows protocol and knows the rules. And I'm governed also by the rules of this legislature. And again, for the same reasons as cited in the earlier amendment, I'm going to rule on this amendment as being out of order. And with that, I would like to, the next amendment is Senator Pangilinan. Senator Pangilinan.
Thank you very much, Senator Calvo, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice Speaker. The amendment I'm proposing is one that has like a asterisk with a circle on the top right-hand corner. Oh, it's being passed out. Can we get the chairman?
There's one here that was passed. Is this a
Yeah.
same topic matter?
Same topic matter, but there was some changes because I had to add a new section because of I drafted that amendment before we started amending Section 3.
Okay, continue, Senator Pangilinan.
Thank you very much. This amendment, Mr. Chairman, would add a new section, add to Section 2, Part 3 of the revenue projection or revenue numbers in the Section 2 of the bill, after the grand total of the revenue summary, to add a new line to say net transfers in, then parenthesis, Public Law 28-151, close parenthesis, and then add $8 million under the numerical column. And what this does, Mr. Chairman, is that, as you know, we have found out and we have documented that the governor had taken $8 million from the authorization that was given to him in Public Law 28-151 for the payment of COLA pursuant to the court judgment, and transferred that into the general fund. And therefore, the general fund was increased by $8 million. But it's not being recognized as revenue, because revenue is usually a result of the imposition of fees, taxes, permits, and licenses. But this was just a transfer in from the bond fund proceeds after certification by the governor and the Department of Administration that the bond funds were not needed, and pursuant to the authority granted to him in Public Law 28-151 by this legislature, transferred it to the general fund. So it recognizes that the general fund received $8 million, and it's a net transfer in. And then we would add a new section to the bill that would appropriate the $8 million that the governor certified he took for the purpose of paying COLA pursuant to 28-151, appropriate that same $8 million for COLA judgment payment. And it would be the sum of $8 million is hereby appropriated from the general fund, because that's where the money went in, as an initial partial payment of the COLA judgment award pursuant to Superior Court Case SP 0206-93, Rios versus Camacho. So it's a completely revenue as well as expenditure neutral.
Okay, thank you very much, Senator Pangilinan. On the Pangilinan amendment, if there's no comment, no objection, amendment carries. Senator Shimizu.
No, I have one more.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, there. Okay, there was the.
Yeah, I can't.
Okay, this was okay, Senator.
Thank you.
My apologies, Senator Shimizu. You're right after Senator Pangilinan.
Yeah, this would be to add a new section, Mr. Chair. The Department of the Guam Public School System, and it would appropriate for past due retirement contributions for Guam Public School System employees, and it would be the amount of $784,000 is hereby appropriated to pay past due retirement fund contributions for 48 Guam Public School System employees who have stated their intention or filed documents with the department or the retirement fund to process their retirement. As you know, we received correspondence from the Guam Public School System, and we've been working with them on reconciling. It was a higher number before, and we have been, and it was, I think, 60-some employees. We have actually taken the time to go and work with the retirement fund to reconcile that, found out that they have actually paid for almost 20 employees already, but they lack this additional funding. So this would pay that outstanding obligation so that these employees can retire and can it would also save money to the Guam Public School System, because if these employees are replaced, they'll be coming in at a lower step level. So these employees want to retire, they deserve to retire, they've worked for it, and this would allow them to do so.
Okay. Okay, on the Pangolino Amendment, if there's no, Senator Tina Rose Mooney Barnes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, I'd like to chime in on this amendment and thank the author of the amendment giving me the opportunity to support it. Mr. Chairman, I think it's really important as we've been working closely with the Department of Education and knowing that these teachers really want to retire and knowing that they need this. I think it's the best thing. So I stand in full support, and I'd also like to thank the author for giving us the opportunity to be a part of this support and the previous amendment also. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Senator. If there's no other comments, no objections, okay, the amendment carries. Senator Shimizu.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I'd like to include in the Shimizu Respicio senator proposing the amendment. I'd like to include Senator Tina Munoz Barnes, number 3, and my esteemed colleague, Senator Espaldon, and Senator Judy Gutterts to the amendment. And this amendment is to add a new section to Bill 1 to read as follows. The appropriation to the Department of Revenue and Taxation, the sum of $300,000 is hereby appropriated from the general fund to the Department of Revenue and Taxation and shall be expended pursuant to the provision of 11 Guam Code annotated, etc., etc. Said general fund appropriation shall come from the approximately $21 million received by the government of Guam from the federal government for tax reimbursement. The funds appropriated herein shall be available to the Department of Revenue and Taxation beginning the fiscal year 2007 until such time as the sums are fully expended. Basically, the money here is to be appropriated to pay for the principal Guam territorial income tax attorney as passed by Public Law 28-175. The 20th Guam Legislature established the territorial income tax attorney, but did not have the funds to pay. This is one of the efforts that myself and my colleagues are trying to put more teeth into the enforcement of our tax. And they need a tax attorney up there to be able to assist the Director of Revenue and Taxation in pursuing those individuals who willfully and wantonly disregard their responsibility in paying their taxes. And for many, many years, I would assume that the lack of no fear in the powers of revenue and taxation to bring people to voluntarily comply with their responsibility. Mr. Chairman, I ask my colleagues to support this amendment and this appropriation because I believe that as we fortify and strengthen the Department of Revenue and Taxation, we will see more voluntary compliance instead of always having to have an amnesty. You know, the one way of the tax people get voluntary compliance if when the taxpayers believe that they will not get away and could not get away because the Department of Revenue Taxation have the wherewithal to carry out the laws of Guam. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Senator Shimizu. Senator Respicio on the Shimizu, Respicio, and others amendment. I know there's a
Thank you very much, Ms. Chairman.
Respicio.
Ms. Chairman, we also made available to members of the body a description of what the Guam Territorial Income Tax Attorney will do. Basically, it's to assist the Director and the Governor in administering and enforcing the Guam Territorial Income Tax, and it would arm the Director of Revenue and Taxation right now with a legal mind to guide him as he administers the Guam Territorial Income Tax provisions, and also make sure that the Director of Revenue and Taxation does conform with all the rules and regulations, federal and local statutes with respect to tax policy. So I'm hoping that the legislature passes this amendment to really show some kind of support to revenue and taxation. There was a previous amendment to allow them to automate their machines. This amendment will certainly continue to augment that department because it shows when you beef up revenue and taxation, they went out and collected $21 million, which allows this legislature to authorize the governor additional spending authority so the government won't shut down, and also earmark the balance of those funds to these kinds of priorities. And this certainly amendment offered by Senator Shimizu is just one of those priorities, and I stand in full support of this amendment.
Okay, thank you very much, Senator Shimizu. Again, on the amendment, Senator Tenorio?
Thank you. I support my good colleague, and I appreciate the work that he's doing. This is exactly what we need to do to make sure that Revenue Tax gets the resources to go after and make sure that the enforcement of our tax code and those who are responsible for paying should be doing so. The only question I have is, if the gentleman would yield, is this $300,000 the amount necessary for the full 26 pay period for the attorney and the staff, etc.?
Will the senator yield?
Yes.
Senator.
How are you? Yeah, it's not only to the end of the fiscal year, but if you read, I want it to be carry over whatever balance that they have to carry forward to the next fiscal year, because this is the amount that they asked.
For the entire year?
Yeah, for the entire year. So the fiscal year is just only 2 more months.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need to come back again and rehash this. You just carry forward, and then when and this is called cash, and when it's expended, they will need to come back down again to the legislature and present whether it's a supplemental or another budget request in the year of 2008. But again, they can negotiate that. So,
I appreciate the answer from the gentleman from Minarahan. The only problem is, Mr. Chairman, as you know, is that this is for the fiscal year, and so I'm wondering if we were to give the benefit of the doubt, they were able to use the full 6 pay periods from now to the end of the fiscal year and divide that $300,000 by 26, it really comes out to about $69,230, leaving $230,000 lapse, if you will, for the forthcoming fiscal year. So whether or not they wanted to stay, because the budget is just until the end of the fiscal year, September 30. So I'm just curious whether or not we want to appropriate and allow for the agency to lapse this fund into the next fiscal year. It actually would not be available to them. So
actually, it's a good point. I mean, there might, but that's an issue. There will be a legislative session dealing with.
Point of information, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Senator Pangilinan.
The appropriation would not lapse because the language says until such sums are fully expended. So it would, as the good author had stated earlier, it begins in FY 207 and it's continued until the funds are expended. So that carries it past the FY 07 budget. So in my opinion, I'm not a lawyer, but I love playing one. It would not lapse. It would just continue to be expended until the appropriation of $300,000 is fully exhausted.
Okay, thank you for the point of information. Senator Tenorio?
Yeah, I appreciate what everyone is trying to do here. I just that there is a fundamental purpose here, and that is to appropriate to the fiscal year. If anyone was so inclined, there's $230,769.23, which could be derived from the balance of the monies that are being appropriated, because clearly they're not going to spend $300,000 in the next 2.5 months. So that's my input on this. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Senator Tenorio. Are there any other comments on the amendment? Senator Guthertz on the Shimizu amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I stand to support the amendment. As Dr. Shimizu indicated, and also Senator Espaldon indicated, recently we had the chance to visit the Department of Revenue Taxation. We met with the director and his management team and supervisory team, discussed a number of the challenges they face. And of course, we knew when we went to visit with Director Logan and his management team that they in fact face many challenges. But one of the things that struck me is the amounts of money that is owed to the people of Guam through the Department of Revenue Taxation for various taxes. And the amount is over $100 million, Mr. Chairman. Over $100 million Colleagues, can you
Sorry,
please pay attention?
Senators, please, can we keep down the noise
Thank
in
you.
the background?
If I were
Continue,
your
Senator.
teacher, I'd give you demerits. Mr. Chairman, anyway, over $100 million is owed to the Department of Revenue Taxation on behalf of the people of Guam in terms of back taxes owed to the people. And if we can enhance the Department of Revenue Taxation and help them have the personnel as well as the technology so that they can go after every single penny, every single centavo owed to this government, we wouldn't be facing the financial challenges that we have had to deal with in this hall over the last 7 months. It's almost as if, Mr. Chairman, that historically there's been an effort to disarm the Department of Revenue Taxation so it can't do its job. So we are now giving them the arms in terms of some financial support, and this will not be the last time. We have to continue to support the Department of Revenue Taxation, give them the money they need, the resources that they need to do their job in order to ensure that everyone on Guam is treated fairly when it comes to tax obligations and no one escapes paying what they owe the people of this territory. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Senator Guthertz. Again, on the Shimizu Amendment, Senator Blas.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, one of the things and one of the reasons why we keep coming in and out here of this session hall with regards to these budgets is because we need to find the money. And at first glance, when I looked at this amendment or this proposed amendment, my first concern was that we were somehow raising government expenses again by hiring another individual. But you know what? The good author is right. Not only does revenue and tax need the assistance, first off, we've got to stop this practice of being able to pass unfunded mandates, and this is one of our ways to be able to correct that in this case, that situation. But more importantly, one of the things that I need to put out is that, this position would actually pay for itself over the next few years. Because now, as the good author had stated, the good senator from Inarahan, is Malolo. It's not Inarahan? Okay. As he had stated, is that now it would give the Department of Revenue and Tax the ability to go after these individuals, and as a result of having this ability, they would raise the money. So I want to say that in that respect, I support this amendment, and I appreciate the good author's drafting of this amendment, and the good authors and the other individuals that wanted to co-sponsor this as well. All right. So I just wanted to express that, sir, so that again I don't see this as going against what I've stated all along of trying to right size and to cut down in as far as government expenses. This is money well worth spent. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, Senator Blas. If there's no other comments on the Shimizu Amendment, maybe it'd be wise to just advise you folks that we've been doing a running tab, and since we're talking dollars, cents, and centavos, there's a 35-cent balance. So since we have 300,000, maybe I'm just to advise
Make the amendment to put it onto the last one.
Well, why don't we just add it on?
Add it on.
My suggestion to the 300,000.
Yes, and
So if there's going to be a motion just to add the 35 cents to zero.
Can I also make an amendment to include all other senators to the amendment, because I think we've been working very hard to try to raise the revenues. Thank you very much.
Okay, so there's been an amendment to the dollar figure to 300,000 and 35. Okay. Sounds good. We got okay. And with that, on the amendment, offered by the Senator Shimizu and all others. If there's no objection, amendment carries. We have one more amendment. One more amendment, Senator Respicio. Well, there's only one amendment left in the desk. I don't know if there's any other amendments, but Senator Respicio.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to offer this floor amendment just for something that we can begin to talk about. You probably are going to rule it non-germane, and I don't object. But we've introduced a bill, Mr. Chairman. It would be good if we can put this as part of this bill, number 11-S, because what was happening over the current fiscal year, and the senator from Tamuning said this is our third time to come back for the current fiscal year. I think the legislature needs to start doing something by way of preventing the administration, whoever the administration is, from submitting a budget which includes revenue enhancements as part of the revenue forecast. Right now, the governor submitted a bill to the legislature calling on a $504 million revenue projection, but part of that projection would come from $30.5 million worth of revenue enhancements. And if any senator moves to delete any of those revenue enhancements, obviously there's going to be some other challenges. And so this bill would also restrict the legislature from appropriating against new increases in taxes or fees for that current fiscal year. It will set it aside in the deficit elimination fund for that particular year so that we can have one full year of collection experience. The only before we can count that as part of our revenue forecast. The only thing I'm very uncomfortable with this bill before us, Mr. Chairman, is that the amounts earmarked or projected for all these departmental fees were at 100% of a 6-month collection, and that bill would only provide 4 months of collection. So I don't think we're going to realize all those projections from those various categories. So I offer this amendment. It would be really good and timely if it could be part of this Bill 1 so it can address the current fiscal year 2008 budget that's before us. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Make an exception this time.
I want to thank Senator Respicio for his fine comments on this amendment. But again, for the reasons as offered earlier, the chairman is going to have to rule that this particular amendment is out of order. Senator Guthertz, I don't have any amendments here, but do you have?
I can give you a copy if you want one.
Okay, we'll take a 1-minute recess so I can get this amendment passed out.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Senator Guthertz, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This has been a very productive session. I think a lot was accomplished. I wish to say that I have an amendment to offer that is certainly part of our 07 budget activities. As you know, Mr. Chairman, a number of us did not support the revised 07 budget because of the impact it would have on the departments and agencies of the government. I'm happy that we have rectified that problem today by restoring the monies that were originally cut from the departments and agencies of the government so that they can proceed through this fiscal year. Part of the last budget, Mr. Chairman, was an action that, at the request of the governor, to approve brand new fees never charged for before by the government of Guam, and to effectuate them, I believe, the first week of May. A number of us had problems with that, but nevertheless, that became law in 2702. Shortly after that, the legislative attorney issued a legal opinion basically saying that those new fees should not have been put into effect, but should have been placed before the people of Guam in a referendum. However, the attorney did say in his opinion that the departments concerned should be authorized to continue to collect those fees pending the outcome of a referendum in the next election. Well, Mr. Chairman, Personally, I don't agree with that opinion, and I know a number of my colleagues here, our colleagues, don't agree either. I believe those fees should not be charged to the people of Guam, those new fees, until they come before the people in a referendum. And also, Mr. Chairman, I believe that all the people that paid these new fees up until the point when this amendment would become law should be reimbursed for what they paid. So, Mr. Chairman, I offer this amendment for the purpose of requiring that a referendum be held at the next election where the proposed fees that are now in effect be placed before the people, and that the fees not be charged for until that referendum result shows that the people approve the fees. That is that is my amendment, Mr. Chairman, and I hope that you will allow it to be included in this legislative bill today, in order to help the people of our island who are terribly suffering with these brand new fees. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Senator Guthertz. And again, I want to commend you. Usually in the committee of the whole, you don't need to stand, but you stood through this whole presentation. So, and again, thank you very much, Senator Guthertz. Again, it's very strangely similar, but a little bit more wordy and thorough than there was an earlier amendment. Again, but for reasons, as I mentioned earlier, because we put into special session, I must also rule this amendment out of order. With that, you sure as heck can, Senator.
Form, and the bill was filed and was referred to your committee. If it's out of order now, when will you hold a hearing on it?
That is out of order, and I'm going to.
Will you hold a hearing on it, Mr. Chairman?
I will, but again, you are out of order.
Can you do it tomorrow? Thank you.
We got to follow open government, and with that, I must note that there are some errors in the numberings of the sections. So this is all technical in nature, and again, if it pleases the body, we'll allow the legal counsel to change the numbers. And with that, that concludes all. Unless there is a further general comments. Oh, do we? General comments on the bill. When we get into the as we rise to the second reading. Yeah. Okay. On the main bill. Okay. So you wish to comment? Okay. So with that, on bill number 1S, for final comment, Senator Pangilinan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, at number one, I want to commend you for sparing us 3 weeks of discussion on this bill and proceeding in a quite orderly and efficient fashion on this. I think everyone was kind of dreading a long, drawn-out affair, and I want to just thank you for keeping the discussion focused on that. And given the fact that what we've done here, I think the administration also provided some good insight on it. I do want to just comment on just the bill itself. You know, I found it incredulous that we could find money to make these appropriations that within a matter of months and days and weeks. We do know that, of course, that the additional revenue is real and in cash. I do want to say, though, that I find it hard to still support the bill, even as amended. We have gone, I think, with this administration from furloughs and famine to feast with what we've just done with this bill. And I'm just as guilty as the rest of us in feasting. I don't want to not take any responsibility for supporting amendments in this bill that gave resources to the departments and agencies, but that's in the overall scheme of things. I just don't trust the numbers still. I really believe that the fluctuations that have occurred and the changes have occurred will not provide us with the necessary balance on this. I think as a whole, that the allocation of the additional resources may be better determined, I guess, with a 3-week session maybe, but nobody wants to go through that again. But I do want to, again, just continually express my reservation with the way that this administration has presented this budget. Some of the things we've done, I think, have improved it, but it's still not enough, I think, to earn my support. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Senator Pangilinan. Senator Respicio.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I didn't want this. I didn't want us to rise from the committee of the whole without first also acknowledging that this process was very orderly, and I'm hoping that when we embark on the fiscal year 2008 process, my observations with this Bill 1-S really was orderly, because the first thing we did was determine a revenue projection, and it was formally adopted. And then after that, the expenditures were made to the penny available up to that projected adopted revenue projection. And so I'm hoping that for fiscal year 2008, the very first thing the legislature does when we convene for that bill is adopt a revenue projection and then proceed with the expenditures. Too often we've done the expenditure first, and then conveniently the revenue projection was determined to match that amount. I don't think the case was done this time around, and certainly because we have 7 months of actual collections and 1 month of a draft, June draft, I think it's very difficult not to get the revenue projection correct for this fiscal year. And what happens at the end of the fiscal year remains to be seen. But I just wanted to really ask that the process we undertook to do this special bill would be the same for Bill number 143. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Thank you very much, Senator Respicio. Senior Senator Pinko.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, the Bill 1S, in all due respect right now, Mr. Chairman, in a lot of ways, it defies the law of gravity, and this is where the legislature came in. And also in terms of, the appropriation, the things that we have in there, who in his right mind in this body right now would vote against it? Really, they're all for the people. And what we have is like, it was mentioned earlier, it's like from a famine to a feast. And then it's going to be drought again. And there won't be anything. Then we have, a lot of good senators here that probably will be introducing legislation to draw the fees down. What we have done tonight and yesterday and the day before, it's like no tomorrow. And I'm really torn right now in terms of what I'm going to be doing this bill, or how I will be voting on this bill. While everything is so great and dandy, it's so good to be true. It's so good to be true. And that's the reason why that I'm really torn inside in terms of what I'm going to be doing. And I just want to say, Mr. Chairman, that, it looks like what we did today and yesterday, like there's no tomorrow. And we have just drained the entire dam and river. But yet we got to still get into it and swim. And we still need water, for our survival tomorrow. And so, Mr. Chairman, I just want to say this, that while this bill is so beautiful and dandy, and it's too good to be true, it's very difficult, really, under the circumstances, to vote against this bill. But I think right now that all of us are looking at it in terms of what are we going to do in the next 2 months when we have to face reality again. We have opened up a lot of Pandora's box in this. And I think we have to admit that. And how to fund many of these things that we have mandated or put together, more or less, in a different fashion, we have set, a lot of policies in order. When I say we probably defy the law of gravities and the law of Guam, it's because I don't know, really organically speaking, how organic what we have right now. I am not a lawyer, I know that. And it's going to take the third branch of government to decide. But just looking at what we got, there's a lot of question in my mind at this moment. So, Mr. Chairman, thank you. I know we have worked hard, to tackle this, but it's very difficult right now, the way it is set up. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Lujan, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I've got to echo the sentiments of the previous speaker, the good senior senator. As we sat here, and again, as previous speakers had mentioned, thank you for sparing us the weeks of deliberation on, again, numbers that continue to change and monies that were all of a sudden suddenly found. We asked for the MOU, we never got. It's hard for me, again, as the third time that we've deliberated on this 07 budget, that it's hard for me to believe the words that this administration has brought to us for the third time. This is a perfect example, Mr. Chairman, of skullduggery. This bill will make a Caribbean pirate happy. And all I got to say, that the emblem and ad-lib should be skull and bones. Because, again, as we're continuing to be duped into this process, we cannot be assured that next week again, we have not received a copy, because it's confidential, of an MOU, a letter, a memorandum of understanding that this governor and the IRS had got into. It's confidential. But yet we're here deliberating on a letter they received that was supposed to be confidential. The contents we're deliberating on. Yet we have not seen the contents. So again, a perfect example of skullduggery. Skull and bones. This will make a Caribbean pirate happy and proud. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Senator Cabo? Okay, we'll take a 1-minute recess.
Okay, the committee of the whole is back in order. We will recess until 5 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Again, there has been many amendments made to this bill, and to ensure, we've talked with the clerk, we want to make sure that the bill is clean. I think it's wise that we could rise. I would like to recess till 5 o'clock, and we could rise at 5 o'clock. But with that, I'd like to recess until 5 o'clock tomorrow afternoon.